Mike Babcock, one of the shorter head coaching tenures in recent memory for me in the NHL. The Blue Jackets take a swing many years removed from the famous head coach being fired by the Toronto Maple Leafs. He does his little rehabilitation project. And then it all goes south, though. What happened?
Wow. 2 months. He made it 2 months, right?
And those 2 months were not regular season months.
No, of course, naturally. And I guess we could save this for the end or we could say it at the beginning, but the most important theme is that the world is getting smarter, especially the hockey world, right? These things fly 2% less every year than they used to, right? We're cleaning it up. There's more diversity, there's more inclusion, there's more just treating human beings with respect that's happening. And that is leading the game in a better direction. And Mike Babcock, who left the league and had many stories come out afterwards and couldn't find a job. There's reasons, right? There's plenty of these players that he's alienated and made feel terrible. And it was a desperate act by a Columbus Blue Jackets franchise that's won one playoff series in the last decade under a regime that has been around now, Kekalainen in 10 years, and the president's been there for 11 years. And they went, you know what, exactly what we need? A guy who has been out of the league for 2 years and is very controversial, and a guy who is going to be under the microscope and bring all of this unwanted attention to a small market of Columbus. And they just did it because he won one Stanley Cup with one of the greatest Detroit Red Wings teams of the last 30 years.
He really raised the level of that Canadian Olympic squad too. Like, I don't know what they would have done without him. Crosby, Malkin, Weber, Letang, Subban, like those guys weren't doing much on their own.
No, of course not. So he comes in, Babcock, and, you know, the Athletic phrased it so well. Like, what is wrong with lunch or coffee? It's so easy, right, to have a normal human interaction. But instead, we hear from, of all places, the Spit and Chicklets podcast, Paul Bissonnette, reports on the fact that Mike Babcock has been having players come into his office and show him pictures off his phone. And they phrase it pretty plainly or vaguely and leave it up for interpretation of what that means. And so, of course, this ignites as a story. People are making jokes. They are just freaking out about what level of privacy and what Babcock's been doing. Like, is he just taking their phone and going through it, airplaying it on the TV? So then a statement gets released by Boone Jenner, the captain, who the story initially was about, Mike Babcock and the Columbus Blue Jackets team, that it was consensual, that Boone Jenner Babcock asked Jenner to show him photos of his family, and he showed him pictures of his own family in return as just kind of a way of getting to know someone. And they thought that that was going to be the end of it. But of course not when you're dealing with someone like Paul Bissonnette, right? The tweets speak for themselves. And he comes back and he says, sure, that could be for this one player, but this is the guy who, as much as you have insiders who are now friends with agents, GMs, all that stuff, no one knows the players better in the league than this podcast. This is their voice, right? They interview these guys, they do events, they do things that are just in line with this new generation of players. And so no one knows the pulse better. And so even though the delivery is not the most professional medium, he is saying what the players think. And the majority of them come out and say, I wasn't comfortable with this, especially the younger guys in the room. Kent Johnson is a second-year player. He's going to be an absolute stud. And he's walking in there and Babcock's like, show me your pictures on your phone. Like, he doesn't have photos of his family on there.
Mhm.
So what are we doing here? And it's just, it's such an unnatural and weird thing to do. No boss ever asks their employees to just show them pictures off their phone. It's something that maybe comes up organically when you're having a lunch or a coffee, right? And so, of course, this gains steam back again, and the Blue Jackets believe or realize this terrible mistake that they've made. And today, Mike Babcock resigns as the head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets after making it 2 months and not even into preseason. And I think this is the last time we see of him in the NHL. But who knows? There's some really stupid GMs in this league.
It's just there was something else. I don't know if you have an athletic membership. I see lots of headlines and never go through the stories, so I can just quote theses.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not a problem exclusive to the NHL. There is this coaching carousel
Yeah.
where there is this overvaluing of experience and past tenor, that just these owners and GMs seem really unwilling to take on new blood and seem to prefer to just circle the dregs and like try and turn the wheel over and think it will click. And that's one half of it. And the other half of it is like, I'm failing for a better word than like the stupidity of Mike Babcock, like having gotten a second chance after being reported for being all around terrible to work with, by the end of his Maple Leafs tenure, and goes in guns blazing, being terrible to work with. And we were talking a little offline, like, is this young players being too sensitive? Is this like, is there just some of that like old blue blood grit mentality that's missing, with the new blood coming into the game? And like, I want to be somewhat sensitive and in agreement to that, because like some of my experiences like do enjoy like that hazing, like fratty, like tough to get in, like bonding experience. But like context is everything, and you build comfort and trust, and then you take things further. When you are a new coach on a team, with no rapport with a locker room, and you have this past history of being difficult, terrible, and like something of a mental terror with the people you work with, like what on earth are you thinking that you can just stroll? Like, is it because it's a small market and no one's going to care? Um, like it just seems like, do you truly just not think it's a big deal? Like, I'm a little at a loss, like what the thought process was on this, and like just the out of touchness, like you said, that like it takes an alternative media form, like a podcast that's no holds barred, that God bless them is completely unprofessional, is like the only source tapping into this. It's just such an interesting snapshot of the different forms of media and what a lot of traditional media has become. So like a lot of different angles here.
It's yeah, it just speaks to me that once again, the inner circle of NHL executives and coaches, they find their buddy and partner up again, and they're always going to have another spot in the league. And it's time for not only Babcock to be gone, but I think the end of Columbus's reign there in senior management. If you can't get it done after 10 years, like for Dubas, it was 7, right? For some of these other GMs, they don't even make it a decade. Like Kekalainen's made some solid, strong moves, but it's never produced any results. So I just think that they've got to look in a new direction as a franchise, and there's lots of exciting young talent that they have coming up. So you really want to make sure that you handle it with care.
It might be was Tortorella the last coach, or was there one in between them?
I think there was one in between,
Still though.
who didn't last very long, but it's just it's a mess. It's a mess, and they couldn't do it any worse, I guess, in their decisions. It was, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Brad Larson in between Tortorella and Babcock.
Okay. So they gave it one try with a guy whose name I haven't heard before.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. He went 62, 86, and 16.
Oh, so that's 2 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Torts was on the Flyers this past year.
Who knows? I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess he bounces around and does nothing anymore as well. Seems
I
like we've exhausted this story, but
think we
yeah,
front loaded
always
all
got to
the
talk about it, especially when he was a guy who used to be part of the Leafs organization.
yeah. And like I was skeptical on the firing, and that was one like I used to be very like, come on, what's changing the coach really gonna do? And then the total shift and everything on the Maple Leafs like kind of changed how I think about a lot of that when we replaced Babcock with Keefe, and just everything seemed to get more positive.
Yeah, I mean, one of the guys is going through people's phones, and the other one actually wants to let his stars do stuff, do the stuff they want to do. It's not hard to see that difference.
All right, maybe we can get to some positivity now. This has been a dark front end of the pod.